Karoline Leavitt, 27 years old, was the youngest White House press secretary in history under the Trump administration. After a long and tiring day at work, she walked into Capital Luxury Motors, a fancy car dealership in Washington, D.C. She wore a neat white shirt, black dress pants, and low heels. Around her neck was a small MAGA necklace, showing her support for Trump. Karoline needed a new car for work, and she had her eye on the Azure Coupe. It wasn't just for driving to meetings, it was also a statement against the media that often criticized her and the president. The dealership was full of expensive cars, Porsches, Bentleys, and Ferraris, but most of the people working there didn't like Trump supporters. As Karoline walked through the glass doors, a small bell rang. Bright lights made the showroom sparkle, and the air smelled like new leather and fancy cologne. She looked around and saw the car she wanted, a beautiful midnight blue Azure Coupe. It cost $285,000 and was perfect for her needs. A young employee named Ryan, around 25 years old, walked up to her. He wore a suit that was a little too big for him and smiled shyly. "Hello, ma'am. How can I help you?" he asked. Karoline pointed at the car. "I'd like to see the Azure Coupe," she said firmly. Ryan started explaining. "It has a V8 engine, hand-stitched leather seats, and..." Before he could finish, another man interrupted. "I'll take it from here, Ryan." The man was Tyler Caldwell, the sales manager. He was about 40 years old, tall and broad. He wore a fancy gray suit and his hair was slicked back. He looked at Karoline, not with kindness but with judgment. "Hello," Tyler said in a fake friendly voice. "I'm Tyler Caldwell, the manager here. What are you looking for?" Karoline didn't react to his tone. "I want to see the Azure Coupe," she repeated. Tyler smirked and stepped in front of the car. "Are you sure? This is a limited edition. Not just anyone can buy it." His voice had a mocking tone. Karoline frowned slightly. "I know what it is. I want to see the interior." Tyler crossed his arms and suddenly recognized her. His eyes lit up like he had figured out a puzzle. "Oh, I know who you are. You're Karoline Leavitt, Trump's press secretary," he said, stressing the name Trump like it was a bad word. His voice got louder and some Kuzjakers turned to look. Karoline nodded, staying calm. "That's right. I need this car for work." Tyler laughed loudly, the sound echoing through the showroom. "Work? You mean running to press briefings to defend old-fashioned policies? I didn't think MAGA people liked fancy cars." He turned to Ryan and joked, "Did you hear that? Even Trump supporters want luxury." Ryan looked down, embarrassed, but said nothing. Karoline didn't let his words shake her. "I'm not dreaming. I want to buy it today. Can you show me the car?" Tyler's smile faded, but he still looked smug. He leaned closer to her like he was talking to a child. "Listen, Miss Leavitt, I don't know where you got your money, probably from MAGA donations, right? But this is Capital Luxury Motors. We sell cars to people with taste, people who care about social issues. Not flashy conservatives." Karoline's voice sharpened. "Social awareness? You mean refusing to sell to someone because of their political views?" "I need a car to do my job, not to impress you." Tyler shrugged. "Your job? With Trump? I don't think this car fits your image. What are you going to do? Use it to polish his brand?" Karoline clenched her fists but stayed calm, just like she did when facing tough reporters. "You don't need to care why I want it. I'm a Kuzjaker. I have money and I want to see the car." Tyler stepped back, looking at her like she was ridiculous. "Money? You're serious? You walk in here dressed like that, wearing that cheap MAGA necklace, and think you can demand an Azure Coupe?" Other people in the showroom started whispering. A couple near a Ferrari turned to watch. Two salespeople laughed quietly. Ryan looked like he wanted to disappear. Tyler crossed his arms. "Miss Leavitt, I don't have time for mega stunts. If you want a car, book an appointment like everyone else. Otherwise, try another dealership, maybe Tesla. Better for the environment." Karoline met his eyes. Her voice was steady. "I don't need your suggestions. I want this car." Tyler stood in front of her, arms crossed tightly. The showroom felt tense. People were still whispering and soft music played in the background. The midnight blue Azure Coupe sat quietly on its pedestal, but the air around it felt heavy. Tyler sneered. "Don't you get it? This is my place and I say no." Karoline, in her simple white shirt and black pants, didn't move. She looked at him with the same sharp gaze she used in press conferences. "Your place?" she said firmly. "I thought this was a car dealership, not a political club. I have the money. I want to buy the Azure Coupe. What's your reason for refusing me?" Tyler let out a short, cold laugh, like he had just heard a silly joke. "Reason? You really need to ask? Look at you, your cheap MAGA necklace, your attitude like you own the world. You're Trump's people and we don't serve your kind here. Karoline frowned but didn't lose her calm. My money is as good as anyone else's here. You can't refuse me just because I support Trump. Tyler stepped closer, lowering his voice but making sure she could hear. Oh, I can. This is a private business. I decide who gets served and I don't want MAGA money dirtying this place. More whispers filled the showroom. A man in a blue suit near a Bentley leaned to his wife. Who is she? He asked. His wife replied, Trump's press secretary. I've seen her on TV. Another salesperson giggled and whispered, Tyler is teaching her a lesson. Ryan stood nearby, holding a brochure tightly, his face red with embarrassment. But he didn't say a word. Karoline took a deep breath, her voice turning firm. Dirty money? You mean the money I earn from my job? I work for millions of Americans. By refusing to serve me, you're insulting them. Tyler Caldwell, the dealership manager, smirked. He didn't care about what she had to say. Instead, he turned to the small crowd in the showroom, raising his voice like a stage performer. Listen up, everyone, he boomed. Miss Leavitt here wants to use MAGA money to buy our cars. I bet she'd slap a Trump flag on it and parade around D.C. Do we need basejackers like that? A few laughs erupted from the corner of the room. A man near a shiny Bentley nodded in agreement while his wife giggled, covering her mouth as if it were some juicy gossip. But not everyone found it funny. An older woman in a gray sweater frowned. She just wants to buy a car. What's wrong with that? Tyler ignored her. He turned back to Karoline, his expression smug as he jabbed his finger toward the glass doors. You heard them. This isn't your place. I don't care if you're the White House press secretary or whatever. Get out now. Karoline didn't move. She kept her chin up and met his eyes. I'm a carjacker, not a troublemaker. You have no legal right to kick me out. Tyler stepped closer, so near she could see the wrinkles forming on his forehead. Legal rights? I don't like you. That's reason enough. This is my turf and I say you don't belong. Leave or I'll call security. His voice rose with confidence, filled with arrogance. The room went silent. Every carjacker and employee watched, their eyes flicking between them, waiting to see what would happen next. Karoline looked around. Some faces smirked, amused by the show. Others shifted uncomfortably, unsure if they should intervene. She knew she could fight back, turn this into a lawsuit, make headlines. But not today. Fine, she said, her voice even but laced with warning. You want me gone? I'll go. But this isn't over. She turned on her heel and walked toward the glass doors, her heels clicking sharply on the showroom's polished floor. Behind her, Tyler laughed. Say hi to Trump for me, he called out mockingly. Oh, and get an electric car, it's more modern. More laughter followed. But one man, Ryan, an employee, bowed his head and muttered, This isn't right. Karoline pushed the door open, stepping into the golden glow of the late afternoon sun. The light hit her small but determined figure, highlighting the quiet fire in her eyes. She gripped her phone tightly, her lips pressed into a firm line. Tyler thought he had won. That he had embarrassed a Trump supporter in front of an audience. But he didn't know Karoline. She wasn't leaving defeated. She was leaving with a plan. Inside her car, a silver Toyota Camry with faded paint, Karoline sat still for a moment, staring at the steering wheel. Her heart pounded, not from fear but from frustration. She pulled out her phone, scrolled through her contacts, and tapped a familiar name. The phone rang twice before a deep, slightly raspy voice answered. Karoline, are you okay? Vincent, she said, steady but low. I just got kicked out of a car dealership in D.C. Silence. She pictured him in his home office, sitting in his dark leather chair, his salt and pepper hair slightly messy from running his fingers through it. His sharp brown eyes would be narrowing. Vincent Rio, her husband, was 59. He had once been homeless, living on park benches in Hampton Beach. Now he was one of the most powerful real estate developers in New England, the owner of Rio Enterprises LLC. And when it came to Karoline, he was ruthless. Kicked out? He repeated, his voice dangerously calm. Who did that to you? Karoline started her car, the engine humming softly. Tyler Caldwell, the dealership manager. He recognized me as Trump's press secretary and refused to sell me a car. He called my money dirty and said I didn't belong there. Vincent exhaled sharply, the sound like a gust of wind through the phone. What exactly did he say? She repeated Tyler's words, the insults about Trump, the mocking laughter, the final command, get out or I'll call security. As she merged onto the highway, city lights twinkling in the distance, her fingers drummed against the wheel. I told him my money's as good as anyone's, but he didn't care. He wanted to humiliate me. Vincent's voice dropped, edged with fury. He thinks he can treat you like that? Karoline knew that tone well. Vincent wasn't just angry, he was calculating. What do you want me to do? He asked after a moment. Karoline bit her lip, considering her options. She could file a lawsuit, make headlines, or even let it go. But she wasn't someone who let things go. I don't want revenge, she said slowly. But I want him to see his mistake. He thinks I'm weak because I'm a young woman, because I support Trump. I want him to realize that his beliefs don't give him the right to trample people. Vincent chuckled softly, a knowing sound. All right. I know what to do. Karoline frowned. What do you mean? Just go home, he said, his voice firm. Jake Morrow, I'll go there. He won't forget that day. She could hear him moving, probably heading toward their garage. She knew what car sat inside. A deep red Rolls-Royce Fanjake worth $15 million. A car that demanded attention. Vincent, don't overdo it, she warned. Overdo it? He repeated, amusement in his tone. I just want to show him how wrong he was to mess with my wife. You're Karoline Leavitt. No one gets to disrespect you. For the first time since leaving the dealership, Karoline let out a soft laugh. Fine. But I want to hear everything later. Don't worry, Vincent promised. I'll tell you everything. Now go home, Nico is waiting for you. She smiled as she pulled onto the quiet suburban street leading to their home. The house wasn't flashy, just a beautiful two-story villa, far simpler than the multi-million-dollar properties Vincent owned. The garage door opened and she pulled in. As she stepped out, the warm glow of the living room lights spilled through the curtains. Inside, Vincent sat in his office, sipping a glass of whiskey, his eyes scanning his phone. His gray shirt clung to his broad frame, his posture relaxed but thoughtful. The moment he saw her, he stood. You're back. Karoline nodded, sinking onto the sofa. I'm fine. Just, still thinking about the dealership. Vincent set down his glass, his brown eyes flashing. Good. Because Jake Morrow, Tyler Caldwell learns a lesson he won't forget. Karoline didn't doubt it for a second. Tyler had thought he won. But Jakero Vincent Rio was going to make sure he knew exactly who he had messed with. And when Vincent was done, Capital Luxury Motors would never be the same again. Vincent held his glass tightly, his knuckles turning white with anger. His jaw clenched as he thought about what had happened. Tyler didn't just say no to selling me a car, he said, his voice low but firm. He wanted to humiliate me. He wanted to make me look small to prove that his ideas were better than mine. He set his glass on the table, his voice growing even colder. He thinks he's better than you just because he hates Trump. Karoline sat across from him, watching his reaction carefully. She had known Vincent for a long time, ever since they first met in college. He wasn't someone who got angry easily, but when he did, he always had a plan. Karoline tilted her head slightly. I told you I don't want revenge, she said softly. I just want him to realize his mistake, not be ruined. Vincent chuckled, but there was no humor in his voice. His lips curled into a mischievous smile, the same smile she had seen when he proposed to her in New Hampshire. I'm not buying the dealership just to fire him, he assured her. Though I could if I wanted to. But that's not the point. I'll make sure he remembers what he did. He stood up and walked toward the office door, then waved for Karoline to follow. Come here. I'll show you what I'm going to use. Curious, Karoline stood and followed him down a dimly lit hallway that led to the back of the house. As they stepped into the spacious garage, Vincent reached for the light switch and flipped it on. Bright white lights filled the room, revealing a stunning car parked in the center of the space. It was a Rolls-Royce Fanjake, a car worth $1.5 million. The deep red color of its sleek body shimmered under the lights, reminding Karoline of the MAGA flag. The beige leather seats inside looked soft and expensive, and the chrome wheels gleamed like polished silver. Vincent walked up to the car and placed a hand on the hood, his voice filled with pride. I had this cuz Jake made last year after Nico was born. Jakero, I'm driving it straight to Capital Luxury Motors. And when Tyler sees what he rejected, he'll know he made a mistake. Karoline crossed her arms, her expression thoughtful. She glanced at the car, then at Vincent. Vincent, she said, hesitating for a moment, what exactly are you planning? Don't just turn this into a way to show off. Vincent shook his head and stepped closer, resting a reassuring hand on her shoulder. This isn't about showing off, he promised. I'm going there to buy the Azure Coupe, the one you wanted. I'm going to walk in and pay for it in full. And I'll remind Tyler that he insulted the wrong person. He thinks you don't belong in his world, but I'll show him that you belong far beyond his little bubble. Karoline pressed her lips together. She knew Vincent was determined, but she also knew that just buying the car wouldn't be enough to change Tyler's mindset. But if you just buy the car, she pointed out, he'll think he won. That his words didn't matter. Vincent smirked, his eyes lighting up with an idea. Not just the car, he said. I'll invite him to a MAGA event, the Veterans Fundraiser Gala you're hosting next month. He'll have to come face to face with the very people he looks down on. He'll see who they really are. That's how I'll teach him. Not with fists. With reality. Karoline laughed, feeling a little lighter for the first time that day. You're smarter than I give you credit for, she admitted. Vincent grinned. I have to be to keep up with you, he said, wrapping his arms around her. He lowered his voice, his tone more serious. He messed with the wrong person, Karoline. I had nothing once. I slept on park benches. I know what it's like to be judged unfairly. But I also learned that a person's worth isn't about their looks or their beliefs. It's about their character. Tyler needs to learn that, and I'm going to be the one to teach him. Karoline nodded, leaning into him for a moment. Then she pulled back slightly and asked, Are you sure about this? Absolutely, Vincent said, letting her go and stepping toward the car door. Jacaro at 10 a.m. I'll be there. You don't have to come, but you'll love hearing how it goes. Karoline looked at him, then at the bold red car under the bright garage lights. Finally she sighed and said, All right. But I want every single detail when you get back. Vincent nodded, his smile returning. The next morning, bright sunlight poured over Washington, D.C. The glass windows of Capital Luxury Motors sparkled under the sky. The morning was peaceful, until the deep, powerful rumble of an expensive engine filled the air. A Rolls-Royce Fanjake, painted in striking red, slowly rolled up to the dealership's entrance. Outside, a small crowd gathered. Some people held up their phones to record, whispering excitedly to one another. Wow, look at that car, one man said. Whoever owns it must be someone important. Inside the showroom, Tyler Caldwell stood next to a Bentley Continental, adjusting his gray tie. He was in the middle of chatting with a wealthy client, still feeling proud of himself for what he had done the day before. He thought he had taught the MAGA crowd a lesson. Then the Rolls-Royce door opened. Vincent Moretti stepped out. At 5 feet 9 inches he had a strong presence. He was dressed in a sharp dark gray suit, and his salt and pepper hair was neatly styled. His eyes were sharp, filled with the confidence of a man who had built a real estate empire from nothing. The red car behind him wasn't just a ride, it was a message. Vincent closed the door and strode toward the dealership's glass entrance. A small bell chimed as he stepped inside, but it was drowned out by the sudden silence that filled the showroom. Tyler turned, smiling, until he saw Vincent. His smile froze. Carjackers and employees stopped talking, their attention locked on the man who had just entered. Near the reception desk, a young employee named Ryan whispered to his coworker, "Who is that? That car is no joke." Tyler cleared his throat, trying to keep his cool. He took a step forward to block Vincent. "Hello, sir," he said smoothly. "I'm Tyler Caldwell, the sales manager. What can I do for you today?" Vincent stopped right in front of him, looking him up and down with an icy gaze. His voice was calm but firm. "I'm Vincent Moretti, Karoline Leavitt's husband. Yesterday you refused to sell her a car because she supports Trump. I'm here to talk about that." Tyler blinked. His mouth opened, then closed. He looked like he didn't know what to say. The carjackers whispered. A man near the Bentley muttered, "That's the press secretary's husband." His wife nodded. "Probably a real tycoon." Tyler forced a smile, trying to recover. "Mr. Moretti, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We didn't refuse anyone. It was just..." Vincent cut him off. "Don't lie," he said sharply. "You called her money dirty. You said she didn't belong. And you kicked her out in front of everyone. I'm not here for excuses. I'm here to buy the Azure coupe she wanted." He pointed at the midnight blue car on display, his eyes never leaving Tyler. Tyler swallowed hard. "The Azure coupe? Yes, of course we can." He stopped, realizing he sounded too eager. "But, are you serious about buying it today? It's a limited edition. Not just anyone." Vincent took a step closer, his voice steady. "I'm not asking for your opinion. I'm buying the car. And you're going to learn something today." The Capital Luxury Motors showroom was usually a place filled with shiny cars, soft music, and friendly salesmen. But today it was silent. The only sound in the huge room was the shaky breathing of a man named Tyler Caldwell. Right in front of him stood Vincent Rio, a tall man with a sharp gray suit, neat black hair, and cold, serious eyes. He didn't look angry, but there was power in the way he stood. He was the kind of man who didn't need to yell to be in control. Outside the glass doors of the showroom, a deep red Rolls-Royce Fan Jake sat in the sunlight. Usually, a car like that would turn heads, but no one was paying attention to it. Everyone in the room was staring at Vincent and Tyler. Gregory Stanton, the owner of the dealership, felt sweat on his forehead. He was nervous. He took a deep breath and forced a smile. "Mr. Rio," he said carefully, "we'll get the car ready for you right away. I deeply apologize for what happened yesterday with Miss Leavitt." Vincent nodded, but his eyes stayed locked on Tyler. "Good," he said. "I want the paperwork done today. My wife needs the car for work. She has press briefings, White House events. She doesn't have time for petty games." Then Vincent turned away from Tyler and walked over to the midnight blue Bentley Azure coupe sitting on display. He reached out and ran a hand along its smooth hood. Then he turned back to Tyler, his voice calm but firm. "But I'm not just here to buy a car," he said slowly. "You insulted my wife, and I'm not letting that go." Gregory quickly raised his hand, trying to stop the situation from getting worse. "Mr. Rio, I promise this won't happen again." Tyler was just. Vincent interrupted him. He didn't like excuses. "Don't defend him," he said sharply. "He called my wife's money dirty. He kicked her out like she was nothing." Vincent's voice dropped lower, but there was fire in it. "I once had nothing. I slept on park benches. But I never judged people based on their beliefs." He did. Tyler took a tiny step back, his face turning a little pale. But he still tried to fight back. "I have the right to choose who I sell cars to," he said. Vincent laughed. But it wasn't a happy laugh. It was cold. It sent shivers through the room. "Your right ends," Vincent said, stepping closer, "when you use it to humiliate others." He shook his head slowly. "You think you're better than my wife because you're progressive?" he asked. "You don't even know her." Vincent's voice grew sharper. "She started as a Trump intern. She ran for Congress. And now, she's the youngest press secretary in history. And you? You're just a car salesman who thinks he can decide who is worthy." The showroom stayed silent. A young employee, Ryan, stood near the desk, wide-eyed. He leaned toward his coworker and whispered, "He's right." Tyler's face turned red. His voice started shaking. "You don't get it," he muttered. "We don't want MAGA ties." Vincent's gaze hardened. He cut Tyler off again. "You don't want them?" he repeated. "Then why are you still here when I pull up in a Rolls-Royce?" He pointed outside to his red Rolls-Royce, gleaming like fire in the sun. "You think I'm not socially conscious enough to buy your cars?" he said. "Let me tell you something. I built Rio Enterprises from nothing. I own property all across New England. My wife and I don't need to prove anything to you." Vincent's voice turned low and firm. "But you're going to learn a lesson today." Gregory panicked. "Mr. Rio, please," he said. "We'll sell the Azure to you at the best price. No extra fees." Vincent raised a hand, stopping him. "I'll buy it," he said. "But not to make him happy. I'm buying it because Karoline needs it." Then he turned back to Tyler. "But I'm not done with you." Tyler swallowed. What do you mean?" he stammered. Vincent's smile was cold. "I'm not ruining your life," he said. "But you're going to learn that your beliefs don't make you better than anyone else." He turned to Gregory. "Get the car ready. I'll tell Tyler what he's doing next." Tyler's hands were shaking now. What are you going to do?" he whispered. Vincent took another step closer. "You're going to volunteer at my wife's Veterans Fundraiser Gala next month," he said. "You'll meet the people you look down on. You'll see their real worth." Tyler's face turned completely white. "Volunteer?" he stammered. "But You will," Vincent said sharply. "Or I'll make sure no cuzjaker ever buys from you again. Your choice." Tyler froze. Gregory jumped in quickly. "Tyler will do it. I guarantee it." Vincent didn't even look at Tyler anymore. He signed the paperwork, handed it back, and walked toward the glass doors. He gave Tyler one last glance. "You thought you won by kicking her out," he said softly. "You were wrong." Then he walked away. Tyler stood there, trembling as the carjackers whispered. Some nodded in agreement. Others just shook their heads. His pride had shattered in just a few minutes. The Grand Hyatt Hotel in Washington, D.C., was glowing with bright lights. Inside, the ballroom was packed with veterans, their families, and big conservative donors. The room was decorated with American flags and MAGA banners. A band played patriotic music. The room buzzed with happy chatter. Karoline Leavitt stood near the stage, dressed in an elegant navy blue dress. She held a microphone and smiled as she talked to a group of veterans. Her MAGA necklace sparkled under the lights. Near the entrance, Tyler Caldwell walked in. But this time he looked different. No more fancy suits. Instead, he wore a simple black polo with a volunteer badge. He was pushing a wheelchair for a young veteran named Jake, who had lost a leg in war. Tyler leaned down and listened as Jake spoke. "All right," he said softly. "I'll get you some water." Karoline saw him from across the room. She smiled knowingly and walked over. "Tyler," she said, her voice light but teasing. "Didn't think you'd actually show up." Tyler looked up. His face turned red. "Your husband didn't give me much of a choice," he muttered. Karoline glanced at Jake, who smiled up at her. Then she looked back at Tyler. "Maybe," she said. "But I think you're learning something more important than that." "Thanks for being here today, Jake," she said. Then she turned back to Tyler. "So, how does it feel working with these people? Is it what you thought?" Tyler looked down at the floor and sighed. "No," he said. "I used to think MAGA people were just loud and didn't know much. But after a few weeks here meeting people like Jake, I see I was wrong. They're not the bad guys I thought they were." Karoline crossed her arms. She looked at Tyler, not angry but serious. "You judged me just because of my politics, Tyler," she said. "You didn't sell me a car because I support Trump. But a person's worth isn't about politics. It's about how they treat others." Tyler nodded slowly. His voice was quieter now. "I know," he said. "I already told Mr. Riccio I was sorry when I delivered the car. But now I want to say it to you. I was wrong, Miss Leavitt. I shouldn't have treated you like that." Karoline gave a small smile, this time not in a joking way. "No excuses needed," she said. "Just knowing you've learned something is enough." Jake grinned. "Tyler's not so bad, Miss Leavitt," he said. "He helped me play basketball yesterday. Still not great at it, though." Tyler laughed, his first real laugh that night. His eyes looked brighter. "I'm learning, Jake. You're a tough coach." Just then Vincent Riccio walked up. He was tall, dressed in a black suit, and had his hands in his pockets. He put a hand on Karoline's shoulder and looked at Tyler. This time, his eyes weren't as cold as they had been at the dealership. "I've seen you working here," Vincent said. "I have to admit, you're trying." Then he turned to Tyler. "So, is this gala what you thought MAGA was about?" Tyler shook his head. "No, sir. I thought it was just rich people showing off. But now I see it's about community. About people like Jake." Vincent nodded. "Good. I had nothing once, Tyler. I slept on the streets with no money. But I learned something. Your worth isn't in your looks or your beliefs. It's in what you do." He looked at Tyler seriously. "You were wrong to disrespect Karoline. But you're making it right. I respect that." Then Vincent smirked. "My company needs some new cars. If you keep changing, I'll let you handle that deal." Tyler's eyes went wide. "You're serious, Mr. Riccio?" Vincent chuckled. "I don't joke about business. But it's up to you." Karoline added, "The Azure car you sold me is great. It arrived on time, no problems. But next time, don't let politics get in the way of your job." Tyler nodded, his voice full of honesty. "I won't. Thank you, Miss Leavitt. Thank you, Mr. Riccio." The party continued, filled with laughter and music. Tyler pushed Jake's wheelchair back to the buffet, looking happier than before. Karoline and Vincent stood watching. "Do you think he's really changed?" Karoline asked. Vincent chuckled. "Maybe. But if not, I'll remind him, you are the most important thing to me." Karoline smiled and leaned into him. "I know. This story shows how people in America today often judge each other because of politics." Tyler refused to sell a car to Karoline just because she supported Trump. This happens in real life too. Some businesses refuse to serve people because of their beliefs. Tyler thought he was better than MAGA people. But he was doing the same thing he accused them of, being unfair. Karoline and Vincent, on the other hand, didn't let politics make them angry. They proved their worth through their actions, like Karoline driving her red Rolls-Royce and hosting the gala. The lesson here isn't just don't judge people too quickly. It's also about listening, respecting others, and not letting politics decide how you treat people. Tyler changed after working with Jake. He saw that people are more than just their political labels. Vincent didn't punish Tyler but gave him a chance to fix his mistake, like offering him the car deal. If you ever face a situation like this, choose kindness and respect. Let your actions show your true character, just like Karoline did. Remember, politics don't define you. The way you treat others does. If you like this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures, mysteries, and unforgettable moments. Your support keeps these stories alive and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.